Good evening to everyone, and I would like to welcome you all to this discussion related to totalitarian regimes, arts and law. The topic, I think, is challenging and interesting. Actually, this event is organized by the Matthias Corvinus Collegium in a 3 days line of different conferences and even film presentations dedicated to the anniversary to the fall of communism, 35 years since the fall of the communist regime. And 2 days ago, there was a film presentation. The director, Andrei Tsirkis, and the film was What About Liberty, or What is Liberty? Yesterday, it was a very interesting discussion between the poet Anna Blandiana and Professor Zero. And today we will move to another topic, and that topic is totalitarian regimes, art and law. And I would like to welcome Professor Giacomo Pace Gravina from the University of Messina. He is our distinguished guest today. Thank you very much for coming from the sunny Sicily to the foggy Cluj, because this is an effort, I suppose. Going in the other direction would be much more convenient, of course. And myself, I am Emőd Veress. I am also a professor of law. And what we will do today, we'll try to compare two different totalitarian regimes, the Fascist Italy and the Romania of Ceaușescu, from the point of view of law, art, and totalitarianism. And I would like to give the floor first for Professor Pace Gravina, and this is the tool to move the slides. The power. Yeah, exactly. Please.
Thank you. I am happy to stay here in Cluj, in Matthias Corvinus Collegium, and to see many young people, many students with this interest in this late hour to attend at a conference. I speak about with Emőd about a particular topic, the intersection about law and art in the fascist and the communist era, to explore this mysterious ambient who is in behind of the images who we can see for you. At the roots is the Italian fascism, who has a dual matrix: nationalism, which aimed to establish Italy as a powerful and prestigious nation on the international stage, and the organization of action squads, the Black Shirt, which intercepted the discontent of the military, who, after the tragedy of the First World War, were struggling to reintegrate into civilian life. The mutilated victory was another problem for Italy of the 20s. The Versailles Peace Treaty had not kept the promises made to Italy with the London Pact. Italy had not been granted Dalmatia, assigned to the new Yugoslavia, and it had no rights over the Turkish provinces and Greek islands. The bourgeoisie attempted to counter the advance of communist ideology after the effect of the Russian Revolution. This led to the rise of the so-called fascist revolution, culminating in the March on Rome on 28 October 1922, a demonstration of force by former soldiers led by Benito Mussolini. On 31 October 1922, Mussolini, leader of the Fascist Party, was appointed prime minister, marking the beginning of the gradual erosion of the liberal state from within, although its formal structures, such as the constitution of the kingdom, would remain intact. In January 1925, Mussolini assumed dictatorial powers, declaring himself the dux of fascism. This created a parallel order within the state, characterized by the coexistence of two authorities, the king and the dux, as well as two armies and two police forces. Fascism was committed to the affirmation of Italy. Italy was a new nation born in 1861. In the context of the great European powers, central to this ambition was the revival of the idea of the empire, borrowed from the Roman Empire, with the supremacy in the Mediterranean Sea. Fascism recalls the memory of the Roman Empire to strike at the collective imagination and convince Italians to adhere to its political projects. Rome was once again the capital of the empire. New monumental streets were opened to highlight the majestic ruins of the ancient capital, such as Via dei Fori Imperiali, dedicated to military and fascist parades. Already at the end of the First World War, archaeologists acted as the vanguard for a possible penetration into the East amid the crisis of the Ottoman Empire. Excavation of Roman antiquities in Mediterranean countries served to recover the memory of the empire which the fascist regime sought to resurrect for its own imperial ambitions. The restoration of ancient monuments and buildings has the function of accentuating the actuality of the Italian presence. In 1939, a new law for cultural heritage was drafted with a nationalistic perspective. Its primary aim was to prevent the impoverishment of the Italian artistic heritage by British and American collectors, who had acquired many Renaissance masterpieces. Mussolini initiated a veritable cult of personality, filling the main public place with its own images, statues, paintings, marble reliefs, portrayed in various poses. He even became a competitor to Pharaoh Khephren with a sphinx dedicated to him in Ethiopia. Numerous artists, including important ones, are involved in this project. The Deuce is portrayed on horseback, like Emperor Marcus Aurelius, as a military leader, even as a reaper in the painting celebrating the Battle of the Weth, the effort made to cultivate abandoned land and enable food self-sufficiency. Or even as a sword of Islam, the defender of the Muslims. In 1937, the Duce affirmed his closeness to the Muslim population, guaranteeing them peace, justice, welfare, and respect for the laws of the Prophet. Or as a film director, because the regime considered the cinema very important to communicate the values of fascism to the Italians. Mussolini also appears like codifier and legislator. The fascist laws of this mosaic of 1939 that has now disappeared, was destroyed after the Second War, certainly alluded to the enterprise of drafting the Italian codes from the Criminal Code of 1930 to the Civil Code of 1942. However, the ambiguity of the name, fascist laws, may also make us think to the so-called leggi fascistissime, the most fascist laws of 1926. These laws reintroduced the death penalty in Italy, which had been abolished in 1890, and created the Special Tribunal for the Defense of the State, a fearsome political tribunal made up of members of the militia, the fascist army, and the professional judges. Among the fascist laws, we must also, unfortunately, remember the infamy of the 1938 racial laws, which targeted and discriminated against the Israelites and the African people.
Yes, it's my turn now, so I would like also to make a very short introduction into the Romanian communism, and I will try first of all to summarize in 10 characteristics this totalitarian regime, and we will see the resemblances with the Italian fascism, but also fundamental differences. First of all, this regime is the result of foreign influence. Italian fascism is somehow rooted in the development of the Italian history. Romanian communism, it is the result of the presence of the Red Army in the territory of Romania. Without that, the Communist Party never could get to power. In the interwar period, the Communist Party was absolutely marginal, 1,500, maximum 2,000 members political organization, very small, isolated political organization. Actually, even banned, it was not a mass movement, actually. And the access to power, it would be otherwise, without the presence of the Red Army in Romanian territory, it wouldn't happen. And this picture, this photograph is really important because it shows some communist leaders, and between them Nicolae Ceaușescu. They are waiting in Bucharest at the end of the month August 1944, the Red Army to reach Bucharest, and we see the young Ceaușescu here, and also I am showing some pictures of the young Ceaușescu, who was a member in this underground communist movement, and already got some issues with the police, and even being condemned this photograph is taken by the police when he had 15 years, the other one when he just reached the year 18. So this is something which shows his presence in the communist movement, probably not so crucial presence, and also the other photo shows the importance of the Red Army. So the first characteristic is this foreign intervention. The second one is totalitarianism. And this is something common in the two regimes, because the political class and the dictator tried to control all aspects of life, even the most intimate ones, not just politics, which is obvious, but also economy, culture, media, and so on. One-party rule is the third characteristic. Political party is actually not like a party today, which derives its name from pars, just a part of something. That party was everything. So the name in itself is cheating, and that was a one party. It was actually a fusion between the party and the state. Something similar happened also in Italy, and this is also characteristics, because we see that in this period Stalin is behind everything. And we will see that this was characterized by a cult of personality, a forced characteristic of communism, and especially Romanian communism. In this first phase, it was a cult of Stalin in many cases, but later, as we will see, it will become the cult of the Romanian party leader. The fifth characteristic is repression and surveillance, the eminent, very important role of secret services and the role of intimidation of the widespread use of the secret services. The sixth characteristic is nationalization of the industry, of the economic activity, collectivization of agricultural land, and introduction of the centralized economy, which is distinct from Italian fascism. This private properties was limited almost to elimination, and of course we have the seventh characteristic, and this is characteristic for the second phase of the communism, but it is really important at first to mention it, that pro-natalist policies, interdiction of abortion, and which led to many social problems. The eighth characteristic, which I consider really important, is the message of propaganda of false dynamism. Because the propaganda always suggested that we are, at the first phase, we are creating the dictatorship of the proletariat, and we are moving, always moving toward the development, toward the new society, toward building the socialism, and we are in a constant movement towards the ideal state of the communist society. What we saw, especially from legal history, is that this dictatorship, after the first phase of establishment, was totally rigid. Actually, nothing changed in it. So this message of false dynamism is contradicted by the realities. For example, we have during the Romanian communists 3 constitutions and several changes of those constitutions, but the effects in reality, the impact on the organization of power is actually missing. So there are no real changes. And we see here the moment of adoption of the 1948 constitution. That was the first constitution of the Soviet-type dictatorship. And also we see still young Ceaușescu in behind. He was a part of the bureau of the National Assembly at that moment, and this is the moment of adoption of the 1948 Constitution. And we see the moment of adoption of the 1952 Constitution. He is not anymore just a simple member of the administrative bureau, but also he had a great speech with that occasion. And a third constitution, the moment of adoption of the third constitution, 1965, we see the previous dictator, Gheorghe Dej. He was the first dictator, but right behind him, smiling Ceaușescu, probably knowing that Dej is already ill of cancer, and he will do everything to take his place. So this would be this message of false dynamism. The ninth characteristic is the presence of nationalism and the nationalist rhetoric, which is also a characteristic of the Romanian communism. Other communist systems were much more in line with the original internationalist theories and practices. The regime of Ceaușescu turned into a really harsh nationalist approach. And the 10th one is a disputed end because revolution happened, but this revolution did nothing else just to clean the way to access the power of the former other members of the nomenclatura. So even now we are still discussing what happened and how in December 1989. And here we are approaching our first art and law problem related to Ceaușescu. And I mentioned that he accessed the power in 1965, and in an apparent change, he was, due to the modification of the constitution, elected as president of the Romanian Socialist Republic. This is very important because before that, there was a collective organ of presidency. There was no unipersonal president, but in 1974, Ceaușescu was elected as president, and this is the occasion, a photo took by this occasion, and of course, the art was reactioning to this great event, and started this this is a period already of very accentuated cult of personality, started to react on his election as president, and here we have a first painting celebrating the election of Ceaușescu as president. What is really interesting from my point of view, and this is not from the communist era. This is the Hammurabi Codex, the upper part of the Hammurabi Codex, and what we see is that we see the king standing, and we see the god Shamash, the sun god of Mesopotamia, and is giving a scepter to the ruling king Hammurabi. That happened, this code of Hammurabi, this is the upper part, and downstairs are written the laws of Hammurabi, dates back something around 3,800 years ago. That's an approximation. Okay, why is important this scepter? The scepter is actually a piece of regalia. It's called because they are used, the scepters, during the coronation process of the monarch, and they are very harsh, very strong symbols of power. This scepter is a symbol of sovereignty, but also of power, and in general, the subjects of power, they are expecting a wise use of power. So it's a symbol of justice and also of limitation of power, but this is just an expectation that the king is generous enough and just enough to use his unlimited power in a moderate way. And we see another painting of Ceaușescu. It's a really interesting one. We see also created on the occasion of the election of Ceaușescu as president. We see that the military in behind do not try to revolt because we will squash you. So that's a message. Of course, but what is more interesting that this is the full size of the painting, that Ceaușescu has a scepter. He got a scepter, and it was used during the official takeover of presidential power. So you see that this position of the hand and the scepter, that this is something used to project the power, the legitimacy, and the unique position of the leader. So it is something used to represent the ultimate authority in the state. So this is the highest and most powerful of all of the authorities of a certain state. And I will conclude this part of myself by showing that this is not an invention of a painter. We don't know the painter is signed just with autographs and the two initial letters. And there are no really research on attributing the paintings showing Ceaușescu today. So this is the scepter is real. So it's getting actually and holding the scepter in his hands. And this is a official photograph, and this is photo of the scepter, a close-up photo of the scepter. But this is the moment when he is taking the oath, and also we see the scepter, the presidential oath. But I wanted to emphasize one issue. On the occasion when he was elected as president, a lot of different leaders of especially third world countries sent congratulatory telegrams, and among those telegrams, congratulatory telegrams, there was an interesting one, and I took from the Hungarian daily newspaper of that period, the Előre, this text, and I will translate it who cannot understand Hungarian. You see, that's real. Salvador Dalí, the Spanish surrealist painter, sent this telegram. And what is the text saying? Dalí congratulates him for the invention of the presidential scepter. And at that moment, they did not realize that is a mockery. That is a mockery. This telegram was published amongst the other congratulatory telegrams sent by the Japanese Emperor Hirohito and different dictators from Africa, like Mobutu Sese Seko and so on. And Dalí did this, and this is a 1974 picture of Dalí. So this was the Dalí mockery. And communist authorities did not observe that Dalí was making a joke of Ceaușescu and published everywhere in every newspaper this congratulatory telegram for the invention of the presidential scepter.
The recovery of Roman memory in the function of camouflaging the dictatorship is linked to that of Roman law, which becomes a pretext to hide, behind the splendor of the ancient tradition, the dismantling of the rule of law. A double binomial, lex rex, ius dux, as emblazoned on the court of Catania, points to Mussolini as the promoter of justice in the face of formal law, the king's prerogative. In this painting by Carlo Carrà, we see Justinian seated on a throne, naked like an ancient hero, freeing a slave in front of ordinary people. He stays in an open space with symbolic architecture, without the trapping of royal robes and the symbols of Byzantine courts. A bridge between Roman law and the codes was created. It was even stated that the Code Napoleon of 1884 was based on Roman law only. This mosaic is eloquent. It depicts a judge, not the emperor, presenting Napoleon's code. At the bottom on the code rests the Iron Crown, symbol of the Kingdom of Italy, affirming an Italian, Roman, and not a French origin of the code. The Minister of Justice, Dino Grandi, declares his opposition to the thesis held by some that the title Civil Code derives from the Code of Citizens of the French Revolution. The Civil Code contains what was the national laws of the Roman people. Thus was born the myth of Mussolini the codifier, author of the Civil Code of the Fascist era. The new codes promulgated between 1930 and 1942 were referred to by fascist propaganda as Mussolinian codes, extolling the will of the Duce, who had in fact given new impetus for the Civil Code from a draft of 1924, before the fascism. The new codes become an instrument of government. In this high relief of 1939, they are represented in the hands of three young men, symbolizing their novelty under the symbols of justice. The art of the fascist period is also centered on the representation of abstract concepts, such as justice, work, legislation, achieving remarkable results. A justice that, as in this symbolic mosaic by the famous artist Gino Severini, has its face hidden by a cloud, a fog bank, which does not allow it to see what is actually happening with the subversion from within of the rule of law. A Roman justice with the ancient mask of the tragedy, which terrifies with its violence and, as it happens daily, against anti-fascists who are beaten, killed, or deported to confinement on the islands for not allowing their ideas to spread. A justice with law, force, and truth, as represented in this mosaic by Mario Sironi, where symbols of the Roman Empire, such as eagles and fishes, are transfigured into the regime's own symbols, who are repurposed in the rhetoric of power, now carrying a new meaning. This is clearly highlighted by the lictor on the left, holding the bundle of rods and the axe, which represent not only force but also the execution of sentences, particularly of death. Ended is the earthly paradise on the liberal state, the focus of this justice, always by Mario Sironi. Black before Ceaușescu, okay.
Yes, black before Ceaușescu. Maybe after. Yes, we see this painting, this dates back from 1978, and this is a homage to Ceaușescu, hero between the heroes. And we see very important characters of the Romanian history behind. But of course, yes, but you see, of course, the most important one is Ceaușescu. It's the first hero between the heroes. The others are just some shadows. And I would like to speak only about a special relation between one of the heroes, because this hero is somehow created artificially. This is the Dacian king Burebista, the first face on this painting. We have as a historical sources 2-3 sentences or something like that about this king of Dacia, but Ceaușescu chose as one of his favorite personalities from history, and actually historians working for him and who accepted this role reshaped this very, very scarce historical sources to create a new historical image of Burebista, who was never conquered, and unified the different Dacian populations, different tribes, and created a so-called centralized and unitary state of Dacia. So Ceaușescu saw somehow himself as a modern Burebista, and explained history like Burebista was an ancient Ceaușescu. So we can have this approach to Burebista, but we are witnessing here construction of mythology through art, and also with the contribution of scientists in many ways. So this is an amplification by art of a message, which is also a legal message, a message of legitimacy of the ruler, because the actual ruler is based on all very important heroes of the Romanian history, but also he's the most important hero. So actually, this is something more than a simple propaganda. It's a reaffirmation of legal legitimacy through the methods of art. And of course, already at that moment there were historians who were criticizing this reshaping of history, but during Ceaușescu many representations of Burebista appeared. Of course, we don't have any image remaining of Burebista, but I took one mosaic representing Burebista, and you see it's still exists, this mosaic. It's in Orăștie Sasvaros. You can observe it, but actually the building looks like this. Today it's a communist era block building, and 130 square meters of the mosaic. It's in one side of this building. If you are visiting Orăștie Sasvaros, you should check this mosaic. Otherwise, the artistic quality is unquestionable. So it's not, but the message is mostly problematic. Here we reach the most problematic of the cult of personality, and I showed that there are paintings of which we don't know the author. Here we have some paintings of a very known author. It's a really famous Romanian painter, Sabin Bălașa, and he painted, I think, the most problematic paintings of used in the cult of personality of Ceaușescu. This is one of them. And I will show all three, and after that I will try to analyze in short those paintings. This is a painting of the Ceaușescu's wife, Elena, who, yes, it's really important. And here we see the presidential couple in this painting. So even if these paintings would be not signed, we should also know that this is Bălașa because the style. And this style, it was named by the painter himself, cosmic romanticism. And otherwise, also we are talking about a really talented painter. It's unquestionable. But why we reached, in my opinion, the most complicated question of the cult of personality. Because what we see here is not an ordinary representation. We can see that these are quasi-divine or even divine figures. So it is a really complicated extension of the law. And why? Because this is reinforcing a legal message, but even taking this message in the transcendental. Because this is you can say the codification of the dominance, ideological and cultural dominance. It's a celestial representation of Ceaușescu, and if he is a transcendental authority, that means that this authority is rooted in the highest level of legitimacy. It is the God itself, like a pharaoh of the ancient Egypt. They were gods on earth, and this is a message of infallibility. This person cannot make any mistakes. This legitimacy is not just a simple legitimacy, it becomes an eternal, almost religious-like legitimacy. And what is the most important message? It's of this transcendental authority, that Ceaușescu is something like an eternal and universal force, and contesting him, criticizing him, revolting against him would be a violation of natural law, cosmic law, of transcendence. So I think this is the highest peak possible of the adulatory art, and this is in this sense also an evidence how art can create legal mythology. This is from this point of view. It's interpretation of Balázs's painting. Of course, not. I will show you again the Elena and the couple also this ethereal presence of the leading couple of Romania. What I would also like to emphasize that certain painters also try to revolt somehow against Ceaușescu, and I have one example to that. It's Corneliu Baba, another important artist. He has really beautiful landscapes of Venice, for example, he painted. But he was asked to paint a portrait of Ceaușescu, and he couldn't do anything else that he invoked that his hands are really shaking and cannot paint anymore such a grandiose piece of art as a portrait of Ceaușescu. And in that period there was an important joke related to this painter Corneliu Baba. And this joke I will try to translate into English with the necessary explanations. This joke was about Baba. Corneliu Baba appeared in the prison, went to prison. And the inmates in the prison, they were asking how you ended up in the prison. Such a famous painter, renowned painter, how did you get into prison? And he was explaining that I was commissioned to paint portrait of Elena Ceaușescu, and the inmates were asking that, okay, and what happened? The portrait doesn't succeed. It was wrong something. It was not realistic enough, and so on. It was not accepted. No, Corneliu Baba responded. The portrait actually was perfect. The problem was that I signed it as Baba. To explain, Baba means a really ugly old woman, Baba Vénasszony, and his name was interpreted that he was mocking the Elena's. So the painting was perfect, and it would be pleasing for the first lady of that period, Romania. But the signature of the painter, it was the nickname of Elena, Baba. Yes, Vasorú Baba is. You can understand that. Okay, but instead, what Corneliu Baba did, he painted a series in the 1980s of Mad King, and this is really interesting. You see one piece of from this series, the Mad King, and two other paintings of the Mad King, and especially the third one is really interesting from this point of view, because these are representations of Ceaușescu actually, and in both of them, but especially on the third one, he put a really not misunderstandable hint to even to the most unprepared viewer to identify that this is related to Ceaușescu, and to prove that what is the clue is the strap, and let's see the yes, the strap, and that was used, and this was a huge risk for a painter in the 1980s. So this was a relatively open criticism, discernible even for the not so well prepared in art Securitate agents, for example.
I think that in front of Ceaușescu, Mussolini was only an amateur, dilettante. Architecture also contributed to exalting the myth of fascist Romanity. A symbol of this was the E42 area, today Eur in Rome, built for the Universal Exhibition in Rome that was to be held in 1942, stopped by the war. Government palaces and courts were thus erected to symbolize power, along with public monuments with the same function. This also happened in the colonies, Italian colonies, to emphasize their ancient Roman roots and hide the reality of the Italian occupation. Emblematic is the case of the Palace of the Work Civilization, commonly referred as the Square Coliseum, which symbolizes the new consideration of work in fascist ideology. Italy is now based on a corporative economy, characterized by a common intent between owners and workers in the superior interest of national production. Based on the Labor Charter, a programmatic document with constitutional effect, which outlines the guarantees for workers within the corporative system, with a forced pacification of social conflicts. Exempli gratia, strikes were banned. There was no liberty. Moreover, limits were set on private property. It's not communism but fascism. There is not expropriation but limitation of the power for the superior interest of the state. A particular point of view is that of the colonial dimension. The first colony was the Libya. Libya was conquered by Italy in 1911, but was pacified only in the fascist era. And during this period, were extolled the connection between with the old Roman past of Libya, with excavation of the ancient cities of Cyrene, of Leptis Magna and Sabrata. A bridge was created between past and present to legitimize the colonial occupation of this African country. A symbol is this magnificent statue of the Venus of Cyrene was transported to Rome for this symbolic function. The second colony was Ethiopia, conquered in 1936. Among the instruments that legitimized Italian conquest was the civilization mission. One of the elements was the abolition of slavery, symbolizing by this painting, which was still in force in the African country. With the conquest of Ethiopia in 1936, Mussolini proclaimed the Italian Empire, heir to that of Rome, but Ethiopia had never been conquered by the Romans. Another colony was the Greek Dodecanese Islands and Rodi. At the end of First World War, Italy obtained dominion over the Dodecanese archipelago, previously belonging to Turkey. To avoid the claims of Greece, the Italianity of the islands, which had previously belonged to the Republic of Venice before the Turkish conquest in the 16th century, was asserted. The statute of a colony does not completely apply here. The citizens were Christian. They certainly cannot be considered savages to be civilized as the African colonies. This led to the construction of buildings in an eclectic style inspired by Venetian models. And the monuments to Roman emperor were erected and buildings were constructed in the rationalist fascist style. An important element of fascist rhetoric is also the creation of border monuments to sanction the entry into civilization. A notable example was the Ark of the Fileni in Libya, on the border between Tripolitania and Cyrenaica. The arch was linked to the ancient legend of the sacrifice of the Fileni brothers, and on the monument was the inscription Alme sol, possis nil urbe Roma visere maius, O great son, may you see nothing in the world greater than Rome. After the expulsion of the Italians in 1970, the Libyan dictator Gaddafi had the ark destroyed in 1973, considering the arch an embarrassing memory of the Italian colonial occupation. Between 1937 and 1938, an exhibition of degenerate art was held in Germany, where contemporary works by German artists were exhibited that insult German sentiment or destroy or confuse natural form, or simply reveal an absence of adequate manual and artistic skills. Even in Italy, some artists were accused of producing degenerate art, like Giorgio De Chirico, preferring instead expressionist works often imbued with rhetoric. A particular case was of the Lancellotti Discobolus, the Discobolus of the collection of Prince Lancellotti, a Roman aristocratic. In the view of Hitler, the Greek art represented the ideal of the Aryan race. Thus Hitler demanded the transfer of the magnificent statues of Lancellotti Discobolus, a Roman copy of Myron's, the famous Myron Discobolus, to the Linz Museum in Austria. The statue was already bound by a 1909 law. Minister Bottai and the Commission of Sciences and Art gave a negative opinion for the exportation from Italy, but the Minister Galeazzo Ciano, husband of Mussolini's daughter, authorized it anyway, and the statue go to Germany, to Austria. The tragedy of the Second World War had a very strong impact on art and cultural heritage. When Allied bombers began to strike Italian cities, measures already planned by a law of 1939 to protect monuments were implemented. After Italy's armistice with the Allies, German troops stole numerous important works of art from Italy to Germany. The fall of fascism at the end of the Second World War led to the destruction and dismantling of many monuments, and almost all depiction of Mussolini. It was the same thing with Ceaușescu, I think. The abrogation of the codes was demanded, but the doctrine proved their strong liberal matrix. So they remained in force, and for the most part, the codes still are. Italy recently returned to their respective states some works of art stolen during the colonial period, such as the Stele Teaxum to Ethiopia and the Venus of Cyrene to Libya, but the statue disappeared after the fall of Gaddafi in 2011. Germany was forced to return to Italy several works illegally removed after 1943, together with the Lancellotti Discobolus, because it was exported against the opinion of the ministry. The recent rediscovery of futurism has reopened interest in the art of the fascist period, allowing us to rediscover numerous works that show clear links between art and law. This is not historically revisionism, but rather an exploration of the ferments, cultural ferments of the 20th century and the complexity of cultural relations existing at the time. We have time, or we have to begin the discussion? 5 minutes?
5 minutes.
A particular case study is the Cart of Milano, built in the 30 years of 20th century by the famous architect Marcello Piacentini. Here there are many works of art regarding the idea of justice in fascist period, like the famous Triptych of Justice. In the left part, there is the idea of Roman justice, the justice of Traiano, with the widow and the army. On the right part, you can see the biblical justice with the image of Adam and Eve. And after there is the famous fascist justice by Arturo Martini, with the symbolic justice on the tree of good and evil, with the snake, and for representation, the heroes on the left, and the passions on the right, and down the justice, you can see the bishop is the canon law, and the jurist, the Roman law, and the group of the family with the prodigal son. A symbolic justice who involved the corporations. It's also known like the corporative justice. And it is a particular justice, the justice of the heaven and the earth by Primo Conti, 1939. We can go faster, I think, because this painting, there is a little schedule of the life of the painter. He was a regime painter, like you can see this Mussolini on horseback, or this is really representative. You can see the black shirts, the fascist army, who fight against the communists who are red crocodiles. There is the sketch on the left and the definitive painting. Many of crocodile, they are not. There is only symbolic. And this is the, you say, how you define Emőd? No, not the crocodile. This art prone to the regime. As servita.
State-sponsored art, yes.
And there is this double plane, the divine judgment and the human judgment. Here you can see God, the Father God, with the book of sacred law. And after the Christ, with this turning movement, like a vortex, like with the powerful gesture of his arms, direct souls or to heaven or to hell on the right part. And after there is the human plane. The kneeling humanity is waiting to be drawn into this divine vortex world. But the interest is for the personalities, the characters who are in the lower part of painting. They are the symbol of religion and canon law, like Moses, and after him there is Solon with the first constitutional reform of Athens. After Saint Gregory the Great, representing canon law, after him Plato for the dialogue laws. And after the civilian legislator, from Augustus, after there is Justinian, who nostalgically looked to the emperor, the first emperor Augustus, no? The end of Roman law to the beginning of Roman law. After there is Lycurgus from Sparta, the first legislation of Sparta. And behind is Napoleon, symbolizing the Code Civil. And finally, there is the symbol of the Italian codes, with Mussolini in a military uniform. Perhaps, I think, the choice of the characters was of the minister Bottai, who was a friend and inspirator of Conti painter. In this fascist reading, prophets, saints, philosophers, legislators, and generals preside over this supreme tribunal of history that interprets divine judgment in the daily reality of life, and that it's concretized in the present time in the figure of the Duce, of Mussolini, warrior, assertor of a higher social justice. But there were also fascist critics. The president of the court immediately lashed out at Conti for having included Mussolini among the defendants. He had also attacked the painters Carrà and Campigli for the nudes in their works. After the war, the painting was censored. The depiction of Mussolini was covered. And recently, the restoration brought Mussolini back into the spotlight, sparking an immediate debate on whether the figure of the Duce should be resurrected in a public courtroom. This could become, perhaps, the next case of cancel culture. As in the title of Max Ernst's enigmatic painting, Justice or Butchery, the relationship between law and justice in the fascist period was certainly controversial and marked by the regime's heavy interference in the field of individual rights and guarantees, with the repression of freedoms and the reintroduction of the death penalty, the racial laws, and political courts. On the other hand, the relationship with art, the exaltation of Roman law and codification as the work of the Duce, offered the image of the state based on a legality of ancient tradition. In reality, a violent injustice overpowered the defenseless citizens in the face of the power of the dictatorship. Are you? Okay.
slides, and I will speed up, and I will talk about mainly about architectural totalitarianism. This is an unknown painter from North Korea. It is a present from the North Korean President Kim Il-sung to Ceaușescu. But this is Ceaușescu directing the construction of the present-day Parliament Palace, at that moment called the People's Palace, which looks like this today. And yes, this photo, it doesn't shows that it's how immense is. It's a really, really huge building with 12 stores, and the total area of this building is 365,000 square meters, approximately 1,000 rooms, of which in the present day there are a lot of institutions are there, like the Chamber of Deputies, the Senate, the Constitutional Court, and so on. Less than half of the rooms are used, and approximately 400 rooms are used from 1,000. So this is usefulness, shows the usefulness of such a big building. It's was the pyramid-like project of communist Romania. It's a pharaonic projects. 1 million cubic meters of marble is used, but we have a lot of interesting statistical data, which I will skip now, because briefly I would like to speak about the legal issues which are inherently connected to this building, and we can have the arts and law perspective really, really dominant in such an analysis. Why? Let's start from the constitutional law approach, and we saw that this is a symbol of the authoritarian power of absolute dominant state or authority. Actually, it's a symbol of unchecked power, and of course, it is also a symbol of misuse of state resources, because it was built in the 1980s when the economic conditions in Romania were the worst, on the expense of the population's welfare affected this monumental building also. That, and as I said, it's architectural totalitarianism, because architecture also can enforce ideological narratives. It's a symbol of domination. It's too big to be just an administrative building or a building of state authority. It's a symbol of domination, and also from the constitutional right perspective, but opening maybe labor law considerations, we can see that this building was created through, in part at least, forced labor. The military was involved in the construction project. To respect the timeline, they were working in a high days of the construction, actually non-stop, without stop, in 3 shifts. During night, the construction was ongoing, so we can see human rights abuses and labor law abuses and workforce, so it's also a human rights issue. And there are a lot of legendary numbers, how many people died during the construction, especially in work accidents. We have that period some type of official number of 27 In reality, the number is of hundreds at least, even reaching 1,000, because this was a monstrous project, and labor safety conditions were not really met. And what is also interesting from the legal point of view is not only the constitutional law interpretation, but we can involve also private law, and we can see that this building resulted and it's based from and it's based on the expropriation, mass expropriation, and actually the size it is compared to the size of the entire Veress. So that size of the old Bucharest was expropriated and used for this construction and the neighboring streets and so on. And we have some pictures of the old Bucharest, which was demolished for the construction of this building. Some other pictures. This is how it looked like. Not only one neighborhood, but several neighborhoods of this type were cleaned up, churches and so on. This is a demolition of a church ongoing. Taking photos was totally forbidden. This photo was taken by a German citizen from a neighboring building. In case of some church demolitions, workers denied to participate in it, and detainees were used to demolition of churches. So the effect it's also really high, because the misuse of the expropriation law and actually the size of this intervention in the neighborhood, affecting tens of thousands of people, of relocating tens of thousands of people, tens of thousands buildings were destroyed. So it's a huge totalitarian intervention in an organic evolution of the city, and this is also an issue of let's say the lack of accountability, because all the pain and problems created are actually unsolved forever. It's a question of impunity. Nobody was held responsible for the consequences of this project. Of course, the building exists, and after the fall of communism, it was necessary to do something with it. So it's redesigned as the seat of the Romanian parliament. It gets a democratic use, but of course this is also a complicated part of the heritage, communist heritage in Romania. You see workers here and the ongoing construction.
We hope that this lecture can be a warning not to fall back again into the darkness of the dictatorship, and to always affirm the values of freedom and democracy, of which our Constitution are the custodians. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And if you have any questions, we are open to answer those questions. Please feel free to comment, add anything, or ask anything. Here is a question.
Good evening, professors. I had a question. Do you think the development of the current state of law or art, were it not for the current, well, not the current, but were it not for the dictators, would have been any kind of different? I'm talking about the construction of the parliament building, for example, or the same Mussolini painting. Would there have been another leader placed, or would art take a totally different direction? Thank you.
Yes, in my point of view, it's absolutely different direction because the time, historical time, has its effects on art and on law as well. And if those conditions are even in a minimal manner different, art and law will be different. For example, such a project as the present parliament wouldn't be acceptable in a non-totalitarian regime because it's not logical to build such a building, such a colossal building, but also representations of justice in example that would take a different turn. What we see that when we have a authoritarian state power, we have a much more important presence of legal issues in art, because art is used to make legal problems, legal messages visual. And in a society based on constitutionalism and rule of law, the state is not relying on such a strong presence of art in propaganda. Of course, the times are changing, and we are entering, as you saw from the last Romanian presidential elections, in a turbulent era from the point of view of digital propaganda, but that's another issue.
It's an actual problem. Also in Italy we have new perspectives. For example, now there is a great exhibition of futurism in Rome, and now is reopening the debate on the interconnection between futurism, this time of art, and fascism. And there is a great debate about the opportunity to have this exhibition now, what there is a government of the right hand, no?
Right-wing government, yeah.
For the left party, this is in continuity with fascism. And it's not true, naturally. We have constitution, we have parliament, there is not this really danger. But the interrelation between art and fascism is a dangerous argument, because we have to see to this time with the good lens, occhiali, glasses, because there is it is a distant time. Fascism was possible only in this time, but we must pay attention to don't fall another time in the crisis of the democracies. We now have a strong constitution, but the former constitution, the Statuto Albertino of 1848, was a flexible constitution. Was possible to transform it with a normal law. Now, to transform the Italian constitution, like the German constitution of Bonn, it is not possible with a normal law. It's necessary a strong law approved 2 times by the Senate and the Chamber. 4 passages to transform the constitution. It's almost impossible. And the constitution is our defense. in another time, in another perspective of your question, you have to consider what Mussolini was fascisated, because this argument, the continuity with Roman Empire, was a strong argument for the population of Italy. A new nation, Italy was divided for most of 1,000 years from the invasion of Longobardy, from Pannonia, like Professor Veress. And was reunified only in 19th century, like Germany, after the Holy Roman Empire. And the rhetoric of the power was to be the descendants of the Roman, like in Romania, no? I see what Ceaușescu also claim these origins. Like here in Cluj, there is the wolf, no? The La Lupa, the Roman wolf with Romolo and Remo. It's rhetoric. It was a gift from Italy, no? To have this connection. It's not connection only of culture, but it's also political connection. And it was a strong argument, the ideal of Romanity, when Italy was not a victim of other population, but was Italy to dominate all the world, the empire, all the Mediterranean Sea. Italy like a long ship into the Mediterranean Sea, no? All the islands, all the North Africa, Greek, Turkey, have to be all Italians. It's a rhetoric of regime, but it was also an argument to make wars, to make occupation of Africa. It's not a good thing, but we have to consider all these related all the time. The first part of 20th century, the problems after the First World War. Here, in this part of Romania, you know that there was also problem with the Hungarian roots. No? Also, Italy was dismembered. A part of Italy go to the new Yugoslavia, Istria. Also, Trieste was divided into Yugoslavian zone after was recovered. But Istria, Dalmatia were lost forever. There were Venetian countries. There were many Italian people who stay in this part.
Thank you. Other questions? We have time for one more question. If you, yeah, exactly. Yes, please.
You have mentioned So we've seen numerous creatures that were glorifying a given system, but can you mention any creatures that were criticizing a given system, or that went against a given system, or whether that were created after the fall of these regimes as a form of memento, let's say?
It is the type of art what Emőd say as called resistance art. No, in Italy there were many measures against who is against the fascism. No, the anti-fascists were removed. It's impossible to have a painting against Mussolini. No, you have seen many paintings who glorify the dukes of fascism, like general, like politic, like military leader, it was impossible. But when you see some paintings, you can find some messages in a battle, no? Nascosti, come si dice? Hidden into, like in the De Chirico painting, you can see only symbolic figures, panoramas without men's, monuments isolated to all the generals, no? And a strange light. But you cannot have an expressive opposition to the regime.
Yes, and that's true also for Romania. So we can identify some paintings, for example, with hidden critical messages. And I brought to you the Corneliu Baba's series of the Mad King, and in the 1980s, Ceaușescu, it was seen already as a Mad King, even if the regime started with some positive lights in the second part of the 1960s. But in the 80s, it was turned out really, really horrible Stalinist regime. And of course, we have other paintings of that type, and one is the one I wrote the article about. It's a painting of collectivization, taking the agricultural property of the peasants and giving to a collective farm. And a Hungarian painter from Transylvania, Albert Nagy, painted such a symbolic painting which at the first sight is in favor of collectivization. It shows a rural scene when a people is joining the collective. But if you try to look the hidden symbols, it is really, really critical toward this forced transfer of private property. And this critical character, it was shown also by the fact that this painting, it was nominated for a big regional exhibition of painters in that period, and somebody observed that something is wrong with this painting. The faces are not happy enough to show the enthusiasm of collectivization, and it was rejected. And this rejection at that period meant that red R letter, it was put on the back of the painting, and nowadays this R letter is still on the back of the painting, and at that moment it was a failure of the painter to adorn the regime. But now actually it's a sign that it is a good painting. So we are exactly at the end of the time. I will show you that I will prove that we respected the time limit. We still have 20 seconds. So it's good to, this 30 seconds which remain, it's good to thank you for the presence and for the questions and for being here. Thank you very much, and we wish you a pleasant evening, and please feel free to analyze and look at art as also from the lawyer's perspective. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.